When I work on a horse's face, I like to have some forward motion, because if they're going forward, it's easier for me to, my pull backward gives me more leverage if they're walking forward into it, okay? So I like to walk them forward, and this mare is fairly new to my program, so she doesn't know she doesn't have all the bells and whistles. She doesn't know exactly how to get away. So what I do is, remember, with a curb bit and a curb chain, it's kind of like a lever, like a fulcrum. You have the advantage there. You don't need to jerk and pull. You don't need to overpower them. All you have to do is get into that face and just pull until you get a release. Pull until you get a release. Okay, again, it's a little bit like what I talked about when we were backing up. When I'm walking them around, I don't want to do a straight pull. I'll pull to one side, and then I'll pull to the other side, pull to one side, because the advantage is mine when I pull to that side. If I pull straight back, the advantage goes back to her. So I'll make sure that I get her soft, pulling from side to side. And I'll work on it equally the same both directions. Like right there, she's taking her face a little bit. Right there, when I'd pull on her, she was pulling back a little bit. Not a big deal. I just keep pulling till I get her to give, and then I let my hands go. And I'll pick up, and I'll use my feet right here. I'm using my feet to do two things. One, to keep the momentum going forward, and two, to teach her to release her head, to drop her head off of my little bumping her forward. And as is always the case, I don't like to use more pressure than what I have to use. Okay, I want her to learn. You got to always be a teacher. You don't want to force them to do it. You don't want to make them dread going out to the arena every day. It's always about being a teacher. So I'll just keep bumping and pulling until she gives her face right there. And then I release. And I'll pull on her. She gives her face. I'm big on pulling and pushing. More pulling and pushing than jerking and spurring. I like to pull and push. Now, if I'm sitting here pulling on her and she just taking it out of, just pulling that rein out of my hand and pulling that rein out of my hand and pulling, then I'll go ahead and bump her a little bit harder right there, but it won't be out of nowhere. I'll go ahead and I'll take the slack out of the rein and then bump her a little bit harder, as hard as I need to, until I get her attention, and then I'll go back and I'll smooth it all out again. Okay? So I'll give them the one big bump, bam, and then I'll go back and make friends again. Okay? I got her attention, I told her no, and then I go back and be soft again. Okay? That's the key to the whole thing, is keeping them confident. Keeping them confident. You can't train a scared horse. Okay? You got to keep them confident. You got to keep them wanting to learn. And that's how I soften their face.